the transition to digital was always about having creativity and control. And with that, I found photography and retouching just the most beautiful thing. My name is Pratik Naik. I'm an editorial and commercial retoucher. So most of my business is having a retouching studio. And I'm also an educator in the field. Most of my career was based on art. I really enjoyed painting and drawing. But the reality is I went to school for business and marketing. And my passion wasn't actually that. It was all about art. I think that was an advantage because I could branch off into learning about different things and then apply that to what I'm doing. So no matter what your background is, I think it's applicable to any art form in media. In photography, what happens is whether you're in fashion or you're doing architecture, you typically will storyboard a scene or you have a game plan before you begin. And that storyboard and references play such a huge role to communicate with your team or even yourself on what the final image is going to look like. And the same thing applies to retouching. I think we forget that that part's absolutely necessary in having that pre-visualization. Because without that, you end up just creating something that probably isn't the vision that you started with. I think the biggest mistake that a lot of photographers make when they're trying to understand and learn about calibration or accuracy is that they use references about brand colors or company colors or makeup colors and trying to make sure that it looks right on screen. And although that's true, the bigger application isn't just that. I think it's about just making sure your colors look right and that you're confident in what you're seeing. Because now you have, different devices and you want that confidence when you're working in making sure that your colors are what you think they are. So that no matter where they end up, you know that they have a good solid base. The biggest problem for me when it comes to calibration is not knowing exactly the settings to use. When I first started, I had to actually ask a few people what they recommend and what they use. I always like to have a D65 white balance because that white balance is neither too warm or too cool for my purposes, especially looking at things on the web. No matter what screen that image goes to after that, the white balance looks fairly decent. The second thing, I think the biggest factor, is your brightness. I use 120 for my setting on my brightness because that is a perfect amount for web display. If you're printing, I always bring that down somewhere close to 80. And the reason for that is when I'm working for print or web, I want to be able to see exactly what details are present and what isn't. We never consider our calibration setting based on what our final output is of the project we're working on. For example, let's say that we have a scene in the woods at night where we have a lot of foliage, and that happens quite a bit. I'm always working on fine art pieces where these details really matter. And if I know it's going to print, I'll make sure that my calibration settings match exactly what my print's going to be. And that way, when I'm working or putting the final touches, I can make sure that all the detail that I work for still stays there when it goes to print. For people who want to learn more about the retouching process and calibration, all these things, check out my website at solsticeretouch.com, and there I have an education section with a lot of information for people who want to know more, and I think it's a great resource no matter what level you're at.